Our story begins in an ominous-looking structure of a prison in hell. We then see three men in a truck, obviously on the run from someone. Just when they think they've lost him, he pulls out in front of them and their truck rams his car and flips up in the air, coming to a rest on its roof. The man, known as John Milton, gets out of his car and shoots the three of them. He's looking for a young girl and the only man he leaves alive will tell him where she's been taken. Milton sets their truck on fire and walks away. What happens next? Today to a 2011 American fantasy action film called Drive Angry. Be aware, there are spoilers. Further down the road, he goes into a diner for a coffee where he is served by a waitress called Norma Jean. He asks her who owns the Dodge Charger car outside. She tells him it belongs to the other waitress called Piper. The owner of the diner named Fat Lou tries to grope Piper, but she grabs him in a sensitive place and tells him she quits. Norma Jean looks around and notices that Milton has already left. Piper gets in her car and drives off, but not far down the road her car starts smoking, and she pulls over to see what's wrong. Within moments, Milton walks out of the nearby trees and offers to help. I'm sure he was the one who caused the problem in the first place. She is grateful for the help, but he asks her if she can give him a ride in return for his help. He quickly fixes the problem, and they're on their way. Back at the diner, a man in a suit known as the accountant walks up to Fat Lou and asks him if he saw a man fitting Milton's description. Norma Jean tells the accountant which direction Milton went, and he walks off in that direction. Now, we see Piper pull in behind the Paloma Motel, and Milton thanks her for the ride and walks off to a nearby phone booth. Meanwhile, Piper, who has arrived home early, finds her boyfriend named Franks with a woman called Mona. Piper grabs Mona by the hair and drags her outside where she punches her in the face and she falls to the ground. Over in the phone booth, Milton opens an unusual-looking suitcase with an ancient-looking gun inside. Piper takes her things from the room and walks out, but Frank tells her she can't take his car. She hits him a few times, then he hits her, and she falls to the ground. Milton has been watching the proceedings. Just as Frank is about to beat Piper badly, Milton knocks him down and beats him, till the air conditioner falls on Frank's head. It's now nighttime and Milton is driving down the highway. Piper is in the back seat, still asleep from when Frank knocked her out. Milton is having visions of his daughter in a cult group, being killed by Jonah King after he has taken the baby girl. Further down the highway, they stop at a bar called Bull by the Balls for a drink. The bar owner named Roy isn't happy to see Milton. A waitress called Candy serves them some drinks. Piper leaves to get a room and a shower. Back at the Paloma Motel, Frank is talking on the phone to his mother while the TV behind him is showing a news story about Jonah King, who is wanted by the police. There's a knock at the door and Frank opens it to find the accountant, who walks right in, asking questions about Milton. When Frank realizes he's not a cop, he says he's not talking. The accountant throws Frank across the room with one hand. Frank tries to hit the accountant with a baseball bat, but the accountant breaks it in half and pins Frank to the wall. Then he kills Frank with the other half. As the accountant is leaving, two state troopers arrive. They're ready to arrest him for Frank's murder, but he convinces them that he's an FBI agent and that they should help him to hunt down Milton and shoot to kill. Meanwhile, back in Oklahoma, Piper is getting her nails painted by a Latino bar boy. Piper sees someone walking past outside and decides to follow them. As she enters the empty bar, she listens to the TV news report about Jonah King being wanted by the police in connection with a double murder and the abduction of a baby girl. Who should walk into the bar but Jonah King and the man with the leather jacket who was following Milton? Piper quickly hides before they see her. They are soon joined by a rough-looking group of men with assorted weapons. Jonah tells them to go and kill Milton and Piper. Piper overhears their plans and knows what she has to do. Back in Milton's room, he and Candy are still going hard at it when the first man breaks in wielding a machete and Milton turns and shoots him. One after another, they all come in to kill him, and one by one he shoots them. When the last man attacks him, he realizes he has no more bullets. But just then, Piper strikes the man's head with a hoe, and he falls down dead. Milton tells Piper they have to leave now. Outside, the accountant and the two troopers arrive, and a gun battle ensues, and Milton gets a bullet in the stomach. Both troopers get shot as Milton and Piper drive off. The accountant watches them leave. As they drive down the highway, Milton tells Piper that he escaped from prison and the story of his daughter being killed and her infant baby being taken by Jonah King. Suddenly, they are rammed from behind by a police car being driven by the accountant as they're driving across a long bridge. As he pulls alongside their car, Milton shoots at him but only breaks the car window. Piper hands Milton a very ancient-looking gun and he shoots, just missing the accountant's face. The accountant loses control of the car and crashes over the side of the bridge to the ground below. Now we see an older man, the police captain known as Cap, in plain clothes at the Bull by the Balls bar motel where Milton killed all of Jonah's men and the 2 state troopers. Back at the bridge, we see 2 young guys on bicycles approach the crashed police car. Suddenly, a car door flies off and knocks one of them to the ground. He tells them he'll be back to see them when their time is up. Then he walks off. It makes me think the accountant might actually be the Grim Reaper. As Milton and Piper drive along, they see Jonah's van parked near a small church, so they pull over. Milton tells Piper to wait outside, then he walks inside with a shotgun to find people inside singing. Shortly after, Piper walks into the church. I guess she didn't understand what wait outside means. When Milton sees his baby granddaughter being held by a woman, he goes to get her, but suddenly everyone gets up with guns to stop him. At the same time, as Jonah walks in from another room, someone grabs Piper from behind. Milton tells Jonah that he knows what he did to his daughter and that he told Leather Jacket to keep it quiet. Jonah raises his gun and shoots Leather Jacket. Milton keeps asking Jonah for the baby, so Jonah turns and shoots Milton in the left eye. Milton drops to the floor, seemingly dead. As Piper screams and fights, they carry her off to the camper van and leave. The small group left behind prepare to bury Milton and Leather Jacket, but to their surprise, Milton sits up and starts shooting them. He walks outside and gets into the Charger to follow Jonah. A few that were left behind get into 2 other cars to follow Milton. As the camper van continues, Jonah looks out the back to see Milton still coming. Milton runs the camper van off the highway and down a small side road. Piper sees this as an opportunity, so she starts fighting the others in the camper van. Milton drives through a large shed and shoots at one of the cars, and it crashes down into a pit. Piper kicks one of the women through the back window of the camper van. Then she starts fighting with Jonah. Milton takes out the second car, which explodes in flames. Piper grabs the pentagon pennant from Jonah's neck and stabs him in the chest. As Milton drives straight at the camper van, he sees the woman holding the baby in the bunk above the driver, so he swerves to miss the camper van. But the driver shoots Milton's windscreen. He pushes out the windscreen, then turns to chase the camper van. As Jonah recovers somewhat, he is about to shoot Piper, but she sees Milton almost at the back of the camper van, so she dives out of the back window, landing on the front of the Charger. Milton quickly pulls her inside as Jonah is shooting at the Charger's motor. The Charger is smoking badly, so they pull up, only to see the camper van disappearing into the distance. They push the car off the main road. Back at the church, the accountant walks in and finds one of Jonah's men still alive. He asks him why they're after Milton. The man tells him about Milton's daughter and the baby. As Milton and Piper stand near the broken down Charger, a tow truck pulls up and a driver named Webster gets out. He knows Milton, and after a short conversation, he tows the car back to his workshop. Webster tells Piper some more of Milton's history. He tells Milton the Charger can't be fixed, but he has a Chevy Chevelle SS that Milton can take. Not far away, we see Jonah making a phone call to the police to tell them where they can find Milton. As Milton and Piper drive off, it's not long before the police are chasing them and they're heading straight for a roadblock, where Cap and his men are waiting. Milton brings the Chevy to a screeching halt. Just when Cap thinks he has Milton and Piper trapped, a hydrogen tanker being driven by the accountant appears from over the hill, behind Cap and his men. He drives straight through the parked police cars. The accountant steps out of the moving tanker, just before it hits one of the police cars, and rolls over the roof of the Chevy that Milton is now driving through the gap in the carnage. It explodes and blows up 2 police cars, and the accountant just looks at Milton as he drives through. Cap and the other cops point their guns at the accountant as he does his trick again and convinces them that he's an FBI agent. The accountant tells one of the cops, who has a pentagram burned into his chest, to call Jonah and tell him that Milton is dead. Milton and Piper keep driving and they enter Louisiana. It's the night of the full moon and it's already dark. They arrive at Stillwater prison and once again Milton tells Piper to wait for him. Will she listen this time? He walks off and finds Jonah King's group having a wild party. He sees the baby's basket empty. When he returns to the car, the accountant has a knife to Piper's throat, and he tells Milton to put down the ancient gun. He then tells Milton that he was helping him with the tanker at the roadblock earlier, but now Milton must go and get the baby on his own, while he waits with Piper. Just as Jonah is about to stab the baby as a sacrifice, Milton drives his Chevy through the burning pentagram and starts shooting and driving over Jonah's followers. 2 of the followers see the accountant and Piper in the tower above and go after them. The accountant disposes of them easily, but Piper aims the ancient gun at him. He tells her to go and help Milton. As Milton drives straight at Jonah, Jonah shoots at the box of explosives just as Milton is over it. The Chevy flies through the air, burning, then crashes down on its roof. Milton crawls free and walks over to Jonah, punching and kicking him. A man behind Milton shoots him in the back and he falls to the ground. As they both beat on Milton, Piper appears and shoots at Jonah, but he dodges the shot and it hits the other man in the chest, taking him through the air where he crashes into the camper van with a huge explosion. Milton tries to crawl to the crying baby as Jonah beats his back. Jonah tells Milton that nothing on this earth can kill him. Just then, the accountant distracts Jonah momentarily. When he turns back to Milton, Milton tells him that he's not from this earth, as he raises the ancient gun and shoots Jonah. Jonah's body is blasted high into the air where it explodes, and only the top of his skull falls to the ground. As Piper rushes to Milton's side, the accountant takes the baby from the woman holding her and gives the baby to Milton. Milton asks Piper if she will care for the baby, and Piper promises to keep her from all harm. Webster arrives in another car, and Milton tells Piper that Webster will take care of her and the baby. She walks with the baby to Webster, and as they are about to leave, they look back, and the accountant and Milton have disappeared. In the next scene, we see Milton drinking beer from Jonah's skull as the accountant walks over and tells him it's time to go. With a wave of his hand and a flash of fire, a beautiful old black Chevy appears. Milton walks to the car and tells the accountant if he's put back in the hole again, he'll escape again. The accountant throws him the keys and actually smiles for the first time. Together, they drive back to Hell's Prison. Like and subscribe to watch more videos like this. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. That really helps my channel. Thanks for watching.